So to get started, to give you a very brief overview of Ledgersync or Ledgersync in a nutshell, the main function of Ledgersync is that it is a financial data aggregator and automation of retrieval of the financial data. The financial data that I'm referring to is your client's statements, transactions, and check images. So I always remind people that are looking at Ledgersync is not to be confused with a program that is designed to categorize your transactions. That's what your accounting software is for. That's what your bookkeeping software is for. Xero, QuickBooks, Thomson Reuters. Ledgersync works in tandem with those programs in order to gather, store, hold the data for you so that when you do need a statement or you do need to refer to a check image, you know exactly where to go. Ledgersync is designed to eliminate the process where you have to log in to multiple different financial institutions to gather the data. Ledgersync is going to do that for you. So to get started, very quickly, just to understand how simple it is, first step, of course, is to get your clients into the client list in Ledgersync. To do that, you use client management. In the client management, to add a new client, all you're going to do is add client, put in their name, put in their email address, hit add, and that's it. They'll now appear in your list. Ledgersync has another function. It allows you to invite your client to use Ledgersync with you. So in a case where you have clients that either do not want to share with you their credentials to their banks, which that's fine, or they don't have the ability to create your own read-only accountant access to their bank, which, by the way, is the best thing you can do. If any of your clients bank with banks that have that ability, don't just suggest that they do that, insist that they do that. It is going to make your life infinitely simpler moving forward when it comes to data gathering. So that being said, you can invite your client to use Ledgersync. Notice I'll go to add client and it has the send invitation email. That means that the client, once you set them up in Ledgersync, will get an email from Ledgersync that says, hi, your accountant has set up an account for you in Ledgersync. It now requires you to get your bank feeds connected. First thing we're going to ask you to do, set up your own password, and now steps to connect your feeds. So in order to get the banks, to get the data into Ledgersync, somebody has to obviously set up the bank feed. Before I show you bank feed connections, one thing I'm going to advise, in case I don't get to talk to you again before you decide to take Ledgersync for a test run. When you're setting up your clients, I know that it is natural for you to want to set your clients up by their business entities. Don't. Set them up by their business, by their personal names. So if your client Bob has 6 different businesses, set Bob up as Bob, and then underneath Bob, you will differentiate his feeds by naming them by the business. Trust me when I tell you to do this, but if you don't trust me, I'll tell you why. If you choose to use the SMS feature, which means that if a feed breaks, we'll text your client and let them know that they need to enter their security code that they get from the bank into the text message. You can only utilize that feature with a single cell phone number per client. If you set your client up 3 different ways and he only has 1 cell phone number, that means you're only going to be able to utilize that SMS feature for only one of his businesses as opposed to all of them. So trust me when I tell you, set them up as personal. We'll move on to the next step. Any questions regarding getting your clients into the program before I move on to adding a bank feed and what is required? All right, it should be pretty straightforward. To get the feed connected in Ledgersync, you or your client will need to submit the actual credentials for the bank's financial institution into Ledgersync. To do that, you'll click on add, obviously have your client selected, and if it's the client themselves, when they log in, they're automatically selected. They're the only ones that they can see themselves, access to any of your other clients in your list. and you'll go to Add Account. The Add Account wizard will walk them through or walk you through the very simple steps that it takes to add a new bank feed. The only thing I really want you to be aware over here is you need to make sure that you're selecting the correct extractor for the type of account your client has. So for example, Citibank has multiple options. If you select the wrong one, you will get a credential error, even though technically the credentials are correct. So if you want to check to make sure you have the right one because you're not sure, select one at random, or we'll do process of elimination. Notice that we do provide the website that extractor is designed to pull from. That means the exact type of account will pop up. So if this page doesn't look familiar to you, chances are you've selected the wrong Citibank account. You can test your credentials here. Actually, if it works, then it will work in Ledgersync. So we do give you a way to double check to make sure that you have the right extractor selected. Then click on Next. Extraction period. Ledgersync allows you to choose any date within 90 days from today's date for Ledgersync to retrieve the data from. So you can select yesterday or you can select 90 days ago. Ledgersync will then pull the data from that date. So transactions from 90 days ago and forward, check images, statements, etc. You can choose the day, click on Next, and give the account a name. Remember, I told you you can differentiate which feed belongs to which business by typing in the business name over here. Don't get hung up on it. You can change it anytime you want. So whatever you type in here, if you want to change it later, it's easy to do that. And then on Next, and it will ask for you to enter credentials. It will work just fine with read-only credentials. As a matter of fact, in my opinion, it's even better to use read-only credentials because it is a greater likelihood of the feed remaining stable, meaning it is less likely to trigger breakage due to security measures. So you get the feeds connected. It starts to download the data. Again, a little FYI, while data is being downloaded, you do not have to wait on that page in order for it to be successful. You can move on to other things in Ledgersync. You can move on to other clients in Ledgersync. You can close out of Ledgersync. You can shut your computer. Once you initiated the download, it will finish on its own. People usually ask me about this time. Hey, Rebecca, if you only give 90 days, what if I need more than 90 days? I'm going to bring your attention to the backdating feature. The backdating button allows you to purchase additional data. It's a one-time $30 fee per feed. So to illustrate the difference between a feed and an account, this is your feed. This is your feed. Notice under my feed, I have 6 accounts. If I were to backdate this, I would get all data available on the bank's website going back 2 years for all 6 of these accounts for $30. That's a lot of bank for your buck. So again, to remember when I talk about the word feed, if you want to simplify it, each of your clients' logins to their financial institutions equals 1 feed. The majority of clients have 2.5 feeds, meaning for every 2 clients, you're looking at 5 different logins to their financial institutions. I myself have 3. I have 2 separate logins to my Chase accounts, which have multiple accounts associated, and I have a Bank of America account. A lot of people will have 2 to a regular, financial institution, and then maybe a 3rd to a credit card, but that's usually what the case is. Any questions regarding getting connected before I move on to talking about the actual data? All right, good to go. So I'm going to first show you Ledgersync, obviously, as I mentioned, provides for you transactions, check images, and statements. Be aware that there is this rule of thumb that I always want you to refer to when you have a question regarding what data Ledgersync can pull. Hey, Rebecca, does Ledgersync pull deposit images, the rule of thumb is the following. Whatever the website has available on their website is available for Ledgersync to retrieve. If it is not available currently, live, active on your client's bank's website, we cannot pull it. That means if the bank archives data after a certain amount of time that it has it on the website, we're no longer able to access that data. So check images have to appear on the bank's website, statements have to be enabled on the bank's website, and transactions have to be live on the bank's website. Okay, so on the transaction page, Ledgersync draws this data directly from the bank. The main feature of the transaction page is the export function. So not only does Ledgersync automatically retrieve the data for you or manually retrieve it, you can trigger a refresh anytime you want. Ledgersync allows you to export the transactions into 5 different file types, which are then compatible with multiple different accounting softwares out there. So Excel, QuickBooks, OFX, CSV, or IIF. These are the 5 different file types that Ledgersync allows you to send the data to. And then, of course, you can utilize that data further. My suggestion or tip on this page is get into the habit of immediately filtering the data. So notice I clicked on a sub-account that I'll be working with and a date range. Now, again, this is just my suggestion. You don't have to listen to me. And click the filter button. Until you click the filter button, nothing's going to happen. Other features of this page, obviously, you can search for transactions by check number, description, debit or credit amounts. You can also cherry pick which transactions you would like to export, which ones you do not want to export. You can also isolate by checks. If you only want to export the checks, else, you can quickly click on the with checks only, and it will remove any transaction that is not a check or deposit. You can also click on a check number and reveal the check image itself. Now, this is not the only place that Ledgersync allows you to do that, but it is one of the places that Ledgersync does. Any questions on transactions before I move on to the check image page? You guys are awesome. Okay. So the edit check page allows you to view all the checks open in front of you. So unlike on the bank's website or even on our own transaction page where you have to click and open and click and open, Ledgersync allows you to view the checks. Well, once they load, they're all available for you to view one at a time. You can also sort the order that you look at checks at. You can, of course, filter it, date range, click on filter always, and there you go. Obviously, you have to give it a moment for it to load all the checks, but once the checks are loaded, obviously available for you to view and available for you to edit. You can use this opportunity to edit the payees and the descriptions. Notice it automatically saves as I move into the next editing field. If you forget your glasses at home, you can scroll over the check image to enlarge the image by, I don't know, 400% or something. All right. So whatever you do on this page will automatically save itself to the transaction page. So for a lot of people that are using Ledgersync data source, not everybody does. Some people just use Ledgersync to hold the data, have the statements and the check images for reference. But let's say you are using QuickBooks Desktop and you want Ledgersync to be the source of data that you use to populate your QuickBooks Desktop, then a workflow would be obviously the data is downloaded, come to the check page, edit your checks, go to the transaction page, filter, export. Now you open up your QuickBooks, open up the correct account, of course, go to File, Web Connect, find the file that you just created, and import it. Hopefully, if your rules are well set up, it should recognize where it's supposed to categorize each of your checks, each of your transactions. Hopefully, that will reduce the time spent doing manual data entry as well as manually categorizing. Sync should speed that process up by a lot. All right, I'm going to move on to the statement page. Of course, if you have any questions regarding data or formats or anything of that nature, good. Let's see what we got. Good question. Will this work with QuickBooks if it is in a cloud environment? So, and that is a common question I get asked. So I'm going to remind you again that Ledgersync does not push the data into any direct source accounting program. It pushes the data into a file type. So assuming that whatever program you have hosted, wherever it might be hosted, allows you to import a file, then the answer is yes. So you'll notice that in our extensions, it doesn't say export to Xero, export to accounting CS. We don't directly integrate. We're just going to create a file for you. When you create a file, it's going to be held in the default download folder. For most PC users, that just means it's going to be in the download folder. Once you know where to locate that file, regardless of what software you're using or where it's hosted, it shouldn't be a problem. All right, statement page. Ironically, statement page is the only page I prefer not to filter my data. I want to see all my statements for all of his sub-accounts in one page. I want to draw your attention to two things. The first one is the ability to view the statement. Click on view for any statement. It'll open up in a brand new tab. Look how gorgeous this looks. It's as though it came straight from the bank. Oh, wait, it did. Unadulterated, unedited. This is what it looks like. And you also have the option over here to print it, download it. At this point, this statement is yours. You can do with it what you please. If you shut it down, you know that if you need to view it again, it's exactly where you left it. That's where it's going to stay. So another point I like to make is a reminder. Once the data has been downloaded into Ledgersync, it will stay there forever. Well, maybe not forever, so long as you are a Ledgersync user and you are actively keeping your membership active. If you stop keeping your membership active and you decline or you don't keep paying your monthly, we will eventually delete all of your data and you would have to start from scratch with whatever is available on the bank's website. So this is a great way for you to continuously store all of your clients' financial data without needing to worry about creating internal file cabinets or the like. So that's number one. You can view it and you can save it. Number two, I want to show you that Ledgersync also gives you the ability to convert a PDF straight into either a comma-separated file or a QuickBooks compatible file. So while on the transaction page, you would be exporting it to a file, on the statement page, you would be converting it. There are programs out there that you would pay a lot of money to do a PDF to QBO or PDF to CSV. Ledgersync has integrated that technology and offers it to you for free. Now, where this really comes in handy is, let's say you performed a backdate and you got 2 years worth of statements, but you only got a year's worth of transactions because that was all the bank had. In the olden days, that would mean that for the year that all you had were statements, you'd be holding the statement in one hand and manually entering the transactions into your software. Well, Ledgersync at least is going to speed that process up by allowing you to convert the statement straight into a file that is CSV and QBO compatible with about 95% of the softwares out there. So it does give you a quick convert. It's really fast. If I click the convert button, there it is. And now I can download it. That's how fast that works. If I download it, it goes straight into my download folder and it's available for me to now play around with and do with it as I need. So transactions, checks, statements, we're all good on the data and what we can do with it and how it's stored. I'm going to move on. So another storage idea that Ledgersync offers you for free is the cloud storage setting. Ledgersync allows you to integrate a Dropbox, ShareFile, SmartVault, or Google Drive account with Ledgersync. If you do that, if you set up your account in Ledgersync, Ledgersync will then every night, so there is a 1-day delay, push the data from Ledgersync into the folders in your third-party cloud storage. We give you the opportunity as well to map it to the folders that you would like to. So there is a mapping option as well that will help you send the data. Again, this is free and it happens automatically so long as you've set it up. And of course, that means that Ledgersync is allowing you not only to fetch the data, but send it to a third location unrelated to Ledgersync, so that if you do decide for whatever reason to stop using Ledgersync, you have another source where your data has been stored. All right, moving forward from that, I do want to quickly mention automation. So as I keep mentioning to you, Ledgersync will automatically gather your data, Well, in order for it to automatically gather the data, you do need to select the account update scheduler. You have to set it to do that. The default is manual. So to set it up, so simple, click on Add Scheduler. Now, if you just want to get it quickly up and running so that it automatically downloads, you can throw all your feeds. You can tell it every 3 o'clock in the morning, every week, Saturday, I want all of my feeds to automatically grab the data. Now, all of my feeds every Saturday at 3 in the morning will automatically refresh the data. So from the last point that it took data, it will now continue and grab the next set of data. You additionally, or further on, you can actually cherry pick. You can be like, well, I just want John's feeds to update at 5 in the morning, every week on Sunday. And then if you click filter, you'll notice you have the ability to now find John's accounts and select them. Up to you, of course. All right. If you don't set up an automatic scheduler, don't worry. You can manually refresh your feeds anytime you want. Now, a lot of times people think of the word as manual as being time consuming or labor intensive. It's not in Ledgersync. In Ledgersync, we have a page called the Update All Users. I refer to it as the manual update page. All of your feeds will be listed here. If you've got 10 feeds, all 10 will be listed. If you have 200 feeds, all 200 would be listed. And if you want to update all of them at the same time, click on Select All, which is this little checkbox over here, and now click on Update Filtered Accounts. 2 clicks of a button will allow you to manually refresh all of the accounts. Whenever I say refresh, it means download all the data since the last time data was downloaded. Now, this is also an important page to be aware of because it will also clue you in as to whether or not feeds are being maintained or if they possibly have been broken for some reason. The 2 top reasons a feed will break is, number 1, your client changed their password and failed to tell you. Therefore, it is no longer going to work because the credentials are no longer valid. This is one of the reasons why I very strongly encourage you to get your own set of credentials so that should the client, for whatever reason, have to change their password, it doesn't affect you or your connections. But again, I'm aware that not all banks have that ability. The second most common reason that bank feeds will break is update account canceled or aborted. Really means, or to elaborate on that, is that the bank asked for security and nobody was there to respond to it successfully. Therefore, the update was either canceled outright, that's where you just say, no thank you, I'm not able to answer that, or aborted means the timing, it timed out because nobody answered it within the 5-minute time that we're given. If you do want to refresh that account, you would click on the manual refresh, and then you would wait for you to prompt what it is it wants you to do. Here's a good example. Account is asking for a password, security question, or code. Update manually to answer and continue. Well, why not? Let's do that. Now you'll notice that the little spinning arrow has begun. Now, normally when I told you that beforehand, once it starts downloading, you can walk away. In this case, it hasn't started downloading. The little spinning arrow over here it's attempting to connect to the bank. So I always tell people this is where if you're getting antsy, just keep clicking on that orange button. You're basically going to refresh the page until it tells you what it wants to do. Okay, answer a security question. All right, it wants a security code. Now I want to draw your attention to the send SMS option. Ledgersync is the only program that has this feature where the old way was submit. That means that somewhere, wherever your client is, his phone is going to ring or buzz, and it's going to be Chase or Wells Fargo or Bank of Timbuktu that's attempting to send him his code. Now, he has no idea who triggered that because he's off on some golf course at the moment, and he's actually being concerned that maybe someone is fraudulently attempting to log into his account. So he might panic. The SMS option does something else. When you trigger the SMS option, which by the way, I'll talk about the fee involved in that. If you do want to utilize this feature, it is a separate membership. But if you utilize the SMS feature, instead of his phone just buzzing from Chase telling him that he's gotten a new secure access code, Ledgersync will preemptively strike with a text message. And this is what it will say. Hey, Bob, your accountant over at awesomeaccountingcompany.com, whatever, is attempting to download your latest data from your Chase account. However, Chase is asking for a security token. In just a moment, Chase is going to send you that security token. Please grab those numbers, enter them into this text message, and click send. 4 minutes to do this before it self-destructs. All right, nothing's going to self-destruct, but obviously he has to respond to the text message within the allotted set of time before it times out, and the text message will remind him of that. So he can't just be like, let me first finish this whole first, then I'll do it. So he's at least prompted to respond to the request right away. For those who are using this feature, they absolutely love it. In order to use the feature, you do have to opt into it. On the notification page, we have the opt-in or out to the SMS feature. It is a $30 a month flat fee. So if you're using it for all 100 feeds or 100 clients, it's $30. If you decide to use it for only one client, it's $30 every single month. But again, it allows you to very quickly it basically eliminates the need to chase your client to get them on the phone. Studies show that people are more likely to answer a text than answer a phone call these days. Actually, there was no study. That's just my opinion, but I am sure if we did a study, you would find that to be true. All right, I know I've been talking for quite a bit. Any questions before I move forward? I'll pause here to see if anybody has any questions regarding the information that I have been putting out there. All right, I do know that I am pretty thorough. I'm going to move along and explain to you the rest of what these nifty buttons do. So moving back along the menu bar, coming back this way, is the employee management. Ledgersync allows you to create unlimited number of employee user accounts. You do or do not have to. Meaning, if you have multiple account managers and you would like them to have access to the client list so that they can have access to the statements and check images and the like, you have two ways to do that. You can either offer them your admin credentials and be like, here, Sally, I know you're going to be working with me, so here's my username and password to this program that's going to be designed to pull in all the information. And it doesn't matter if the two of you log in at the same time. It doesn't matter if 10 of you log in at the same time. Whoever has the access, the admin credentials, will have access to all of the features of Ledgersync. Alternatively, you can additionally create your separate usernames for your employees. Again, easy as pie. Go to add employee, put in their name, put in their email, create for them a password, and then as the admin, when you select your employee, you'll be able to add clients, I giveth, or I taketh away. That's how simple it is. When a employee, Andre, logs in, he's only going to have access to Matt and Larry. And I, as the admin, control which clients I am giving him access to. All right. Moving along, the billing icon, very simple and straightforward. You can upgrade, downgrade, cancel, or change your credit card using the billing. Everything is prorated. On this. If you do choose to cancel Ledgersync, at worst, we're going to ask you for some feedback. We love our feedback. We love our feedback. Of course, we don't want you to cancel. We love to hear feedback about the program in general, where you would like us to add features, improve features. Ledgersync has pretty much been built by the suggestion of its users. Every time we add new features, it's because we've gotten wonderful feedback saying, hey, you know what would make this even better? If you did blah, blah. And we listen to that. So by all means, please let us know about that. Change your password, pretty straightforward. If you want to change the admin credential password to your Ledgersync account, this is where you would do that. The next two icons are supported bank list and our request a new bank extractor. Ledgersync supports over 1,000 credit cards, bank accounts, credit unions, paychecks. We don't actually support paychecks. We do ADP. I think paychecks is coming though. So our list is pretty robust. You'll be surprised to find some of the most obscure little banks that have been added to our list. If, however, you have a bank that is not in our list and you would like to have it added, no problem. We can do that for you. Request a new bank extractor. Follow the what we need from you, what the requirements are to get it added, and then give us about 2 to 3 weeks to get it up and running for you. Take us a little bit of time to get it all integrated into Ledgersync, and there is a one-time $125 fee to add a new bank. On average, we're adding about 10 new banks every single month, so this list expands rapidly. Once the bank is in our list, it's available for all accountants and users using Ledgersync to utilize. So if you do add a bank to Ledgersync, think of it as you being totally gracious and generous to adding it to the list for others to use. All right, notification settings. Originally, I mentioned the notification settings as I talked about. If you want to add the SMS notification, $30 a month. The other thing I want you to always have turned on is the account summary. What that will do is it will send you an email at the frequency of your choosing, daily, weekly, or monthly, and it will give you all the feeds and whether or not, or whatever the status is. This is a good way for you to be able to view if any of the feeds have broken. Remember, Ledgersync does give you that automatic feature. Sometimes what starts to happen is you just assume that everything is running smoothly. We want to make sure that if something does break, if a feed stops being connected for some reason, that you are aware of it, that you don't just log in, at the end of a quarter to discover that the last 2 months have not been retrieved. So let me see. I see somebody has a question. The cost of adding a bank is $125. Flat fee one time. Alrighty, moving along from the notification setting page, the client status page is pretty much the list of all of the feeds and whether or not they are connected or disconnected. Basically, the status page is the report that you would receive in the account summary. So you can either get it via email, or you can come in over here and take a look. There we go. Password is wrong. Password is wrong. All right, I got to reach out to these people and find out why they, get the new password and get it reconnected. Or in this case, update account canceled or aborted. I failed to respond to a security measure. I need to take care of that. Okay, so that's what this whole page is giving me, the status of my feeds and what is required. It also lets me know when the last successful update for a successfully connected feed was. So, all right, I haven't gotten any new data since December 11th, which is today. So we're good. All right, moving along. We talked about the cloud storage. We talked about backdating. Your profile is where you would set up your name of your business. You can change that. We talked about the scheduler. We talked about the manual refresh. QuickBooks. We have a beta feature for QuickBooks. It allows you to integrate your client's QBO, only QBO, not QB Desktop. And as of now, it allows you to, from Ledgersync, automatically push a check image into or attach it to the transaction that matches in QuickBooks. So right now it's for check images to automatically attach images from Ledgersync into QuickBooks. This is for those people who are like guacamole and like to be a little extra, and it's not good enough to just type in the payee or the categorization. You want the image in your account as well. That's what this feature is for. It also, I believe, retrieves the chart of accounts and allows you to select from the chart of accounts you are editing the description. I do not have QBO, so I have not tested it myself. Remember, it is a beta feature, which means it may not work 100% of the time. We would like you to test it out and give us some feedback, or if there are glitches, we want to be aware of it so that we can make sure eventually when it's not in beta that it is running very smoothly. So basically you get to be our guinea pigs. Congrats. The statement report, that's a brand new feature and I don't know what it does yet. So as soon as I do, I'll be creating a video and launching that into Ledgersync so that when I will find out what the benefit is. But usually new features mean somebody made a suggestion that we want to share with everybody. So that is the entirety of the Ledgersync program. Where I want to draw your attention to now is the support bubble. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the support bubble has actually been stalking us on every single page that we have. At the bottom right, you can always, if you're panicking, something isn't working right, you have a question, you're not sure, you got an error message, or in general, you're just feeling sad today, come get a warm, fuzzy hug from our support staff. Oh, look, it says leave us a message. When it says leave us a message, it means that we are not actively chatting with you live. That's okay. It doesn't mean that we're not on call. So if you click on leave us a message and you pour your heart out to us, let us know what's going on for you. The more information you give us, the more detailed and more accurate our solution is going to be. So up front, I want you to give us the name of the bank, the name of the client, the sub-account, the date range, the check number, whatever is going on. Hey, we even let you attach screenshots. Pour your heart and soul out to us. Let us know what's going on. Let us know what the question is. And again, we will respond to you within the same day. We try to get responses to you as quickly as possible. So even though it says leave us a message and it doesn't say live chat, it doesn't mean that you will have to wait long to get somebody to talk to you. If you cancel that and you go back to the support bubble, I also want to show you something else. As a former history teacher, whenever a student of mine had a wonderful question, I was the mean teacher that would make them do independent research. And my line was always, hey, Ms. Rebecca, do you think Alexander the Great, Was it ever in Florida? I don't know. That's a great question. How about we both do some research tonight and find out, and tomorrow we can reconvene and find out what we discovered. So I like when people do independent research. It means that not only do I want to hand you fish, I want to teach you how to go fishing. So I'm going to teach you guys how to go fishing right now. If you put any word or phrase into our little support question box, it will give you oodles and oodles and oodles of wonderful suggestions. So for example, I don't know, how to do anything. Wonderful articles will be displayed for you. These articles not only give you a very concise and quick answer on how to answer that question, it also gives you visual guides. Isn't that fantastic? How to add a new client. Sometimes, if you're lucky, you get one of my recorded videos attached. So, not that I don't want to answer your questions or that I don't want you to speak to our staff, but I do want you to do some independent research at times where very often the question that you have has been asked before. And if it has been asked before, chances are there's a wonderful article that's going to concisely, quickly, visually answer that question. All right? Alrighty, guys. I am going to take us onto the main Ledgersync page, ledgersync.com. I'm going to draw your attention to a few things. Under the Accountants and Bookkeepers tab, we have our pricing guide. We have two plans. To start with, it's $95 gold, or the VIP plan is $135. The main difference between these two plans is that the gold plan allows you to connect up to 25 feeds. Remember, a feed is a bank logon. So if you have a client that has 2 logons to 2 different financial institutions, he would be using 2 of your 25. The VIP plan doubles that. It gives you 50 feeds, but not only does it gives you the ability to add 50 feeds, it allows you to add you would like over 50 for a la carte price of $2.50 for each additional that you add. So this is your unlimited number if you are a big firm and you've got 100 clients, each with 3 different logons. That is 300 feeds. The VIP plan would be for you. The other difference is that the VIP plan allows you to do a daily download. That means that you can automatically have your accounts download the latest data, whether you're logging in or not, so that whenever you do decide to log in, you have your data ready to go up to that day. Other thing I want to show you is our resources page. The video that I showed you that was embedded into that little support bubble article is also found on our video page. You also can search YouTube and type in Ledgersync and you'll get a bunch of our videos. We often. And the Knowledge Center is a direct link to that support bubble. So remember I told you to type in how to? If you do that over here, you'll get a bunch of wonderful how-tos. Even more, I think, that is what on the support bubble. And again, how to add a new client. As before, it will have embedded visual walkthroughs for you. All right, guys. 10:48, not bad. Any questions that still might remain? Like I said, I know I am typically pretty thorough with going over all the benefits of Ledgersync and what it's capable of doing, what it's designed to do, what it's not designed to do, and how it will hopefully streamline the process of data gathering. I always point out that the biggest loss of productivity for accountants and bookkeepers is you're ready to do some work, but you're missing some documentation and you now need to chase your client to it. Ledgersync wants you to remove that chase and have it available, ready, categorized, organized, sitting there for you, waiting for you to get your work done. All right, no questions. I've answered everything. You guys are a great quiet bunch. I'm actually going to unmute you all and I'm going to stop recording. All right, now I can hear you and everybody else can hear you if you have your mics turned on. So any feedback, guys, or any questions?